Hey everyone. So I want to walk you through the last 48 hours in South Lebanon because it's the deadliest round of Israeli strikes since the June ceasefire framework officially took hold. And in the middle of the official Lebanese response to Israel's actions, President Joseph Aoun's own office made a specific accusation against Israel that Israel violated the actual framework agreement that they signed with Lebanon. And I went ahead and I checked that against the text, and it doesn't hold up. We're going to get into all of those details. But what that tells you about Beirut's credibility as a partner in dismantling Hezbollah is the real story here. But let's start with what actually happened in order. So early Saturday morning around 2:30 a.m., there was an attack on the Ali Taher Ridge security zone. Okay, that's a ridge that overlooks the town of Nabatia al-Fawqa. Here, I'll add it to the stage here right now. You take a look on your screen, and you can see this is let's zero in. This is the Ali Taher Ridge. This is Nabatia al-Fawqa. Okay, we have a few other spots on this map that are going to be relevant for this video. But just to give you the sense of where we are, this line here, this black line where it says Metula, this black line is the border between Israel and Lebanon, and it's only about let's see, I think it's only about 9 miles. Here, let's measure it from here to Israel. Sorry, 9 kilometers, 9.5 kilometers. That's what we got here. Okay, so that's the Ali Taher Ridge that we're talking about, where all the action took place. Okay, so early Saturday morning, 2:30 a.m., there's an attack on the Ali Taher Ridge. And it's one of the most contested pieces of ground in South Lebanon right now. Israeli sources say an explosive drone attack near soldiers from the Yahalom Combat Engineering Unit, seriously wounding an officer and 2 soldiers. And let's pull up the statement from the Israelis on this. Here, Israeli strike kills 11 in South Lebanon after Hezbollah wounds 3 Israeli soldiers. And let me find the quote. Here we go. The strikes were carried out following an action by the Hezbollah terror organization against our forces in the Ali Taher Ridge area, which is located within the security zone where IDF troops are operating, the military said. The wounding of 3 soldiers in the Hezbollah attack was announced earlier by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office in a rare English language statement published on Shabbat. Very rare. Quote, this morning, Hezbollah violated the ceasefire in Lebanon by attacking our soldiers in the security zone, which protects Israeli communities just across the border. The Hezbollah attack seriously injured 3 of our soldiers, the statement said. The IDF responded by striking the Hezbollah terror headquarters, which ordered the attack, the Prime Minister's office said. Only later did the IDF learn that Hezbollah deliberately put civilians in that military compound, the statement added, acknowledging the civilian casualties. The military also confirmed that women and children have been killed and said they were family members of the senior Hezbollah commander it targeted. Okay, there we go. So here's the thing I want you to notice already. Hezbollah has not actually claimed this attack. Its public statements since Saturday have focused entirely on condemning Israel's response, calling it a massacre, accusing Netanyahu of manufacturing an escalation for domestic political reasons. Okay, so they're no confirmation, but also they're not denying the drone attack. They're just outraged at being hit back. Okay, before I move on, I want to stop on this ridge for a second, the Ali Taher Ridge, because it's not just another hilltop. It's arguably the single most important piece of territory in this entire round of fighting, and understanding why explains a lot about what happens next. Okay, so Ali Taher, let's look, we are looking at the map. Let's go to the map again. Here's the map. Okay, so here's Ali Taher right there. That's Ali Taher Ridge. Okay, and Ali Taher this ridge sits right over, it overlooks the city of Nabatia. Okay, so here is the city of Nabatia. Right here is Nabatia, and this is Nabatia al-Fawqa. Okay, this area here. Now, the city of Nabatia is the biggest city in the area, in the neighborhood, and it overlooks what's called the Zaharani Corridor. the Zahrani corridor or the Zahrani River, which is this river here. See, there's a blue river here, the Zahrani River. Okay, and the Zahrani River, everything around between in this area between the Zahrani River and southern Lebanon here, this is a very serious Hezbollah center. Okay, and the Ali Taher Ridge, it is this high spot that overlooks the the road network that links the cities to the south to the rest of Lebanon. Now, one Lebanese analyst covering this fight has called it literally the mother of all battles for Nabatea. Here, let's take a look at some statements from some Lebanese experts about the importance of Ali Taher. Now, this is an article from a couple months ago, but it's about the importance of Ali Taher Ridge, written in This is Beirut by Amal Shamouni. She's an Arab journalist. Look what she writes here. Retired Lebanese General Khalil Gemayel, former commander of the south of Litani sector, called Ali Taher the mother of all battles for Nabatea. Israel wants to occupy the Ali Taher Heights at any price before negotiations with Lebanon. Gemayel explained in a news assessment, stressing that Israel's focus is to break Hezbollah's defensive line. And this is from a couple months ago. He's saying that this was the most important spot for Israel to conquer. Retired Lebanese General Walid Barosh cautioned that air power alone cannot decide the fight. Airstrikes have never by themselves settled a battle. Barosh argued, stressing that control of Ali Taher requires Israeli soldiers to enter and hold the terrain, a costly endeavor given Hezbollah's mines, ambushes, anti-tank missiles, drones, and local familiarity. Yet, Barosh emphasized the stakes. If Israel captures the heights, that's Ali Taher, it could gain fire control over much of Nabatea, a provincial center and historic hub of Jabal Amel. For Hezbollah, the ridge's fall would be both a military and symbolic blow, which explains why its fighters are defending it desperately. Okay, so this is the spot that they're fighting over right now over the course of this weekend. So, and that now what's important about this terrain is not just the high ground, but it's also what is underneath it. Okay, an Israeli security research group, the Alma Center, put out a report in June, just a couple months ago, that on Ali Taher, and they showed that Ali Taher has this report here, and as they write just at the beginning, just a few words here. Over the past several days, the IDF has been carrying out necessary offensive operation in the Ali Taher Ridge, which in effect serves as a lower elevation topographical extension of the Beaufort Castle. In the area where the IDF is conducting ground operations on the Ali Taher Ridge, it says where it is, a massive strategic underground infrastructure complex that currently serves as the main headquarters of the Badr unit, and it was built with Iranian and North Korean assistance. But it is a massive strategic underground infrastructure complex. That is what Ali Taher is, underground. And right now there are reportedly around 40 Hezbollah terrorists who are trapped underground. They've been trapped underground there for a number of weeks. Israeli defense assessments say their remaining food, water, medical supplies, and power are expected to run out within a few days. Now, the IDF has surrounded the known entrances, and they've cut off water lines to the site. Hezbollah has reportedly tried using drones to smuggle supplies down to the guys who are there. So that's what's going on. Lebanese official, Israel awaits U.S. green light for operation to seize Ali Taher Ridge. Interesting, what they're saying is happening here. So the military reality, this is the military reality behind the attack on Saturday. Okay, so there's this drone attack by Hezbollah on Saturday at the Ali Taher Ridge, and it didn't come out of nowhere. It was part of Hezbollah trying to fight back, trying to break the siege, with dozens of Hezbollah operatives running out of time and options underground inside one of their most important command sites, while Israel sits on top of it. According to a senior Lebanese security official cited by the newspaper Al Jumhuriya, Israel's ready for the operation to fully capture the ridge and is awaiting a green light from the United States. Hezbollah, for its part, says that the ridge doesn't get handed over short of a complete Israeli withdrawal, and Israel's not budging. And this is also why Iran weighed in specifically on this one. Check out this quote from the Iranians, who've been pretty quiet when it comes to Israel, and even when it comes to Lebanon lately. They piped up. Check this out. This is from yesterday. The strikes came a day after Lebanese reports said Iran had warned that an Israeli attack on the strategic Ali Taher ridge could draw Tehran directly into the escalating confrontation. Official sources told Lebanon's Al Jadid television Friday that Tehran conveyed a direct message to the relevant parties that an Israeli attack on the Ali Taher, oh gosh, why did that jump? On the Ali Taher area would be met by Iran entering the cycle of escalation. Would be met by Iran entering the cycle of escalation. This is an Iranian threat to enter the fray. Now, if Iran enters the fray, is Iran going to attack Israel and bring Israeli retaliation on Iran? This might be an empty threat. Israel's waiting with their finger on the trigger for Iran to do something like that, and it'll bring. And because if Israel has a cause to attack Iran, because Iran enters the fray here, that could change everything going on in the Iranian theater. In terms of bringing down the regime, in terms of the types of things we know Israel will do. So, but nevertheless, notice here that Iran isn't reacting to Israel striking in South Lebanon broadly. They are triggered by Israel taking Ali Taher Ridge. They mention it by name in their warning. Okay, that's the backdrop for why this drone attack happened, where it happened, and why the fighting since has stayed concentrated right in this area. And what came next was a wave of strikes across the Nabatea governorate, hitting a few places. So the places listed were Al-Ansar, Ali Taher Heights, Nabatea, Al-Fawqa, and Deir al-Zarani. And I want to show you this on a map because one of the spots specifically is a little bit of an outlier, right? So take a look at the map of the sites that Israel hit, and you notice that one of them is a little bit separate. So these sites here, first of all, this is Ali Taher Ridge right here. Down, it's the furthest southeast of them. And then you have Nabatea Al-Fawqa, Nabatea, that's the big Shiite area, big Hezbollah stronghold, this area. And then this here is the corridor, the Zahrani corridor, which is also there's roads. This is weapons and personnel move along this corridor. So Israel's controlling all. This is where they struck. They struck in Deir al-Zarani, Nabatea Al-Fawqa, but they also struck in Ansar, or Insar on the map here, but it's the same place. This is Ansar. They attack here. Now look how far away that is from the rest of the area. Watch, it's going to come up again in the conversation. So it says here so Israel hit all these spots. Now, when they hit the Hezbollah headquarters in Ansar, in that spot that's further to the west, that's separate, they killed Ali Samir al-Haja Hassan, who was a battalion commander in Hezbollah's Radwan force. The Radwan force was the force designed to be the ground commando, strike force to invade Israel in an October 7th type attack. They're like the elite unit of Hezbollah. And so they killed a battalion commander in Radwan along with several other operatives. The deadliest single strike was a house in Ansar where 7 people were killed, 3 wounded in one family. And that's where I mentioned near the beginning of the video that Israel acknowledged these civilian casualties and said they were the family of a Hezbollah commander. That's what that's talking about. It happened in Ansar. Okay, now Lebanese and international outlets are putting the overall weekend death toll at somewhere between 9 and 11 people, right? Al Jazeera is calling it the deadliest reported Israeli attack in Lebanon since the ceasefire arrangement, right, which was supposed to lead to Hezbollah's disarmament and gradual Israeli withdrawal. Hezbollah's Secretary General, Naim Qassem, weighed in. Now, of course, again, as I said before, he wasn't claiming responsibility, but he weighed in to attack the Lebanese government. Look what he says here. On Friday, Hezbollah leader Naim Qassem criticized the Lebanese authorities over the implementation of the framework, accusing them of pressuring the army while Israeli attacks continued. How can you accept this ongoing humiliation of the Lebanese army, exposing it to bombardment and Israeli pressure instead of acting as its protectors? That's Naim Qassem of Hezbollah. Now, hold that thought. It's going to matter in a minute because this is where it gets interesting. And this is the part I actually want to focus on in this video, it's the key point here. Everything I was just doing is laying the backdrop of where we are, what happened, why it's significant, why Ali Taher is important. But I think the real story here is not the strikes themselves. It's Israel and Hezbollah resuming hostilities, which has happened many times. But the real story here is how the Lebanese government responded. Because now, follow along. Prime Minister Nawaf Salam, okay, the Prime Minister of Lebanon, he's a Sunni guy. So the Prime Minister of Nawaf Salam put out a statement. Israel must halt this escalation. Lebanon PM Salam condemns Israeli strikes. Look at that. Condemns Israeli strikes, right? He condemned the strikes as undermining efforts to stabilize the situation in the south. He specifically pushed back on Israel, calling the house in Ansar a military target. Now look at this quote. The 7 martyrs of the Israeli airstrike on the town of Ansar are not military infrastructure, nor are the children and women killed in it military targets, he said. Now, why is he reacting so much to what happened to specifically Ansar? Why doesn't he just call out the Israeli attacks? Because look at where it is. He's trying to sell to the Lebanese people that he's getting Israel to back off and retreat. So an attack that is this deep into Lebanon, that is this far west, kind of scares the heck out of them. And it makes him uneasy that Israel is going after Hezbollah, even in the interior, further into the interior of Lebanon. Okay, so that's, keep that all in mind. I mean, it's still all South Lebanon, but he's, and also a senior Hezbollah commander was killed there, and he's probably also worried about the fallout of being too harsh on Hezbollah about that. Anyway, and then he closed by saying, Israel must halt this escalation. That was in the headline, right? Now, notice what's not in there. In Salam's statement, there's an acknowledgement that Hezbollah fired first. There's no mention of the attack on the Yahalom unit, the drone attack. There's no mention of what Hezbollah did to trigger this. Okay, that's the pattern, but that's rhetoric. There's no specific claim in what Salam said. He's just being, you see his hedging anti-Israel and pro-Hezbollah in his statement does not bode well. But here's where it gets worse, and I mentioned this at the top of the video. President Joseph Aoun's statement is different, and we have to zero in on it, because unlike Salam, Aoun's office made a specific falsifiable accusation about Israel, and this is from the official statement released by his office, as reported by Asharq al-Awsat. Let me pull it up on the screen here. Lebanese President Joseph Aoun said Israeli strikes on the country's south on Saturday were a clear message on negotiations between the two countries ahead of the next round of U.S.-sponsored talks early next month in Rome. Aoun condemned the ongoing Israeli attacks on the south and repeated violations of the framework agreement and international law on protecting civilians, which led to the death of an entire family in the village of Ansar, according to a statement from his office, adding that these violations are a clear message on the negotiation process, right? So he's accusing Israel of torpedoing the negotiation process deliberately, and that's why these attacks were happening. So they're not just saying that Israel escalated, right? They're saying that Israel committed repeated violations of the framework agreement, he's referring to the trilateral framework agreement that Lebanon, Israel, and the United States signed 2 months ago in Washington. Okay, so he's making a claim about that agreement, that Israel's violating it. Let's check it. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Let's go read the framework agreement that Aoun says that Israel violated and see if he's correct. So here's the actual text. Let's pull it up on the screen. Bam, the text of the framework agreement. And you can see what I highlighted. Here we go. So Clause 2 lays out the deal in plain language. Israel withdraws on a reciprocal sequenced basis, contingent on results. Right, Clause 3 spells out the mechanism, and the mechanism is pilot zones, where the Lebanese armed forces take over security only once disarmament has happened. Okay, that's what it says there. Upon confirmation of the successful disarmament of non-state armed groups and the dismantlement of their infrastructure, that's when the Lebanese armed forces assumes full security responsibility. Until then, Israel can stay there. That is what the agreement says. Okay, so Hezbollah is firing on Israel. They're not disarmed. They're still there. And that means that Israel is in its rights, according to this agreement that you signed, to operate there. Got it? Hezbollah has not been disarmed, not verified, not confirmed, not in any way, which means Israeli forces in those positions acting in that security zone is not a violation of the agreement. It's exactly a condition of the agreement. So whose job is disarmament? Clause 4, says exactly whose job it is. What does it say here? The government of Lebanon will rebuild the state's monopoly on the use of force, achieve the complete and verified disarmament of all non-state armed groups, and ensure that such groups will have no military or security role and no armed capabilities anywhere in Lebanon. Okay? But Clause 5 goes even further. This is Lebanon. Remember, Lebanon agreed in writing to what I am reading to you. The government of Israel stresses that its military actions in Lebanon are solely a consequence of the attacks, threat posed by and hostile intent of non-state armed groups, particularly Hezbollah. There you go. Lebanon co-signed this document stating in black and white that Israeli military action is a consequence of Hezbollah's conduct, not an unprovoked escalation, not a negotiating tactic tied to Rome, and certainly not a violation of this agreement. It's fulfilling the agreement. The exact thing Aoun's office just accused Israel of doing, Lebanon's own government agreed to in writing 2 months ago. And then there's Clause 7, which is the clause that really settles this. I should have just started with this one. Look at Clause 7. The government of Lebanon and the government of Israel affirm that nothing in this framework prevents them from exercising their inherent right to defend themselves as recognized in the Charter of the United Nations, consistent with applicable international law. So Israel is allowed to defend itself against active attacks from Hezbollah. Hello? Three Israeli soldiers were seriously wounded by a Hezbollah drone on Saturday morning. Israel hitting back is not a breach of the framework. It's the framework working exactly as written. It's Israel doing the one thing Lebanon agreed on paper 2 months ago that Israel is entitled to do. That's what everyone was talking about when it was signed, that it allows Israel to do this. So let's answer the question directly. Did Israel commit repeated violations of the framework agreement like Aoun's office claims? No. Clause by clause, the opposite is true. Let's review. Clause 2 and 3 tie Israeli withdrawal to verified disarmament. That has not happened. Clause 4 puts that disarmament obligation on Lebanon, not Israel. Clause 5 has Lebanon's own signature affirming that Israeli strikes are a response to Hezbollah. Are they walking that back? Is Aoun saying this wasn't a response to Hezbollah? And Clause 7 explicitly allows Israel to take actions to retaliate against Hezbollah. Exactly what they did. So Aoun's office made a specific checkable claim, named the document that they said Israel was violating, and the document says the opposite of what his office claimed. This is not spin on my part. This is just reading the framework agreement. And Nawaf Salam's claim that Israel, or declaration that Israel must halt this escalation, has the same problem. He didn't claim a violation of a document, but it has the same problem. And this is the issue. Why I don't buy the idea, and you should not buy the idea, that Israel is a threat to Lebanese sovereignty. Look at what we just found. The president of Lebanon's own office put out a statement accusing Israel of violating a specific document, and that accusation doesn't survive my amateurish 5 minutes of just reading the document. You see how this works in the Middle East when Israel signs agreements? Lebanon has a government. It has an army. It signed an agreement 2 months ago, spelling out in its own words who's responsible for what. And when Hezbollah launches a drone at Israeli soldiers in violation of Clause 4, the clause Lebanon signed, the response from the top of the Lebanese state isn't, this violates our sovereignty. This cannot happen from our soil. Notice, they didn't say Hezbollah is violating our sovereignty by launching attacks on Israel from it. No, that's not what they said. Rather, he throws a false accusation at Israel for responding in exactly the way the agreement allows Israel to respond. This is not Lebanon defending its sovereignty, folks. This is Lebanon admitting that it either can't or won't exercise its sovereignty. That's what we're witnessing here. Look, you know what? Speaking of sovereignty, let's take a look at Clause 9 of the agreement, okay? Shall we? Clause 9. The government of Lebanon commits to a rigorous performance-based program to enable the capacity of the Lebanese armed forces to assert full military and security control within Lebanon in accordance with security agreements agreed upon within the framework of negotiations, and to implement the disarmament of all non-state armed groups and exercise effective authority across Lebanon. Oh yeah, great. A rigorous performance-based program to exercise effective authority across Lebanon. Okay, this is Lebanon's commitment in its own signed document. And 2 months later, Hezbollah fires a drone at Israeli soldiers from Lebanese territory. And Lebanon's response is to accuse Israel of the violation. Okay, that's the gap. That's how far the gap is right now between what Lebanon signed and claims they want. They claim they want to get rid of Hezbollah and what they're actually willing to do. Israel has said for months, going back to well before this weekend, that it doesn't trust the Lebanese government to actually follow through on disarming Hezbollah. They haven't said this officially, but they've expressed their skepticism. But it's pretty clear. No one who watches the Middle East thinks that the Lebanese government is actually going to disarm Hezbollah. That's part of why direct negotiations between Beirut and Jerusalem have stalled, because the Israelis actually are insisting on real verification and real action. And every time an episode like this one over the weekend plays out, you can see exactly why. Israel's not being unreasonable. When push comes to shove, when Hezbollah does something that blows up the ceasefire, the instinct in Beirut is still to condemn Israel instead of condemning Hezbollah. If Lebanon wants to convince Israel, and honestly, if Lebanon wants to convince the world that it's serious about reclaiming its sovereignty from an Iranian militia operating in its own borders, the place to start is not accusing Israel, and especially a false accusation of violating an agreement, which actually was a fulfillment of the agreement. It's naming Hezbollah and applauding Israel for helping get rid of Hezbollah and giving Lebanon back its sovereignty. So until it can speak plainly and clearly, this cycle of Hezbollah provoking, Israel retaliating, Beirut then condemning Israel is going to keep repeating itself, and Hezbollah is going to keep being the armed force that Lebanon won't confront, and Israel's going to stay put and fight them. That's where things stand as of today. Listen, I'm going to keep tracking this. As you know, this is not a static situation by any means. It's going to be changing by the day. So please stay tuned, and please like and share and subscribe. Please share this video with somebody. This channel has grown so wonderfully, and I'm really grateful to all of you. The best thing you can do to help my channel, the simplest thing, is just think of one person who you think that this might interest and send it to them. It'll do me a great favor, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching, and God bless.